made believe my ex that I was dead. 6 months ago, the foundation of my world shattered. He left without a word, a clean, decisive break that offered no room for negotiation, no space for understanding. He traded our relationship for his ex-girlfriend, a woman he had explicitly described as abusive. A chapter of his life, he'd assured me, was firmly closed, devoid of any lingering affection. The contrast between his previous assurances and his sudden departure was a brutal betrayal. There was no attempt at a conversation, no explanation, not even a cursory farewell. Just the cold, digital severing of all ties. He blocked me on every conceivable platform. Social media, messaging apps, even my phone number. It was as if I had been erased from his existence, deleted with a single keystroke, reduced to a ghost he no longer acknowledged. I was left adrift in a turbulent sea of confusion, hurt, and disbelief, struggling to comprehend the suddenness and finality of his departure. The truth, as it often does, surfaced gradually in painful fragments, discovered through accidental encounters with information I wasn't meant to see, overheard whispers, and subtle changes in mutual acquaintances' behavior. Each new piece of information was like a shard of glass, embedding itself deeper into the already gaping wound in my heart. The lies he had spun, the promises he had whispered, the shared future we had meticulously planned, all of it dissolved into a bitter, acrid residue of betrayal. The pain was not merely emotional. It manifested physically, a constant ache in my chest that constricted my breathing, a knot in my stomach that stole my appetite, a restless energy that disrupted my sleep. Every waking moment was a struggle, a relentless reminder of his rejection, and the crushing weight of my perceived worthlessness. The day I finally grasped the full extent of his deception, the intricate web of lies he had woven, I reached a breaking point. The despair was overwhelming, a suffocating darkness that threatened to engulf me entirely. The thought of ending my own life flickered through my mind, a desperate escape from the unbearable pain. The ensuing months were a torturous odyssey through the desolate landscape of grief and despair. A single burning question echoed relentlessly in my mind. How could he have done this to me? How could he have so easily discarded me, treated me with such callous disregard, as if our shared history meant nothing? I became consumed by the idea of him understanding the profound depth of my pain, of him finally grasping the devastating consequences of his actions. I imagined confronting him, laying bare the raw, exposed wounds of my heart, hoping that the sight of my suffering would finally penetrate his hardened exterior and force him to acknowledge the immense wrong he had committed. I didn't crave revenge in the traditional sense. I wasn't driven by malice or a desire to inflict suffering. What I desperately longed for was acknowledgement, a validation of my pain, a recognition of the injustice I had endured, a sense of balance in a world that suddenly felt profoundly tilted against me. I wrestled endlessly with the conflicting urges to contact him, to bombard him with desperate messages, to beg for an explanation, for some semblance of closure. But I knew deep down that engaging with him would only prolong the agony, that pleading would only further diminish me in his eyes, reinforcing the narrative that I was somehow less worthy, less deserving of his love and respect. So, I chose silence, a painful self-imposed exile. Those 6 months were a blur of emotional turmoil, a relentless cycle of pain, numbness, and a desperate yearning for relief. I sank into the depths of a debilitating depression, a dark, lonely abyss where joy and hope seemed like distant, unattainable concepts. Simple daily tasks became insurmountable obstacles. Getting out of bed in the morning felt like climbing a sheer cliff face. I lost my appetite, my sleep patterns were shattered, and I found no solace in the activities that once brought me joy and comfort. I withdrew from friends and family, convinced that no one could truly understand the depth of my pain, the profound sense of betrayal that consumed me. Slowly, painstakingly, I began the arduous process of rebuilding my shattered life. I focused on small, achievable goals, forcing myself to take a short walk, preparing a simple meal, spending a few minutes in the company of a supportive friend. I sought professional help, starting therapy to navigate the complex web of emotions that overwhelmed me. I learned coping mechanisms, strategies for managing my crippling anxiety, and the pervasive sense of despair. It was a long, arduous, an often lonely journey, a slow, painstaking climb out of the darkness. But with each passing day, however small, I felt a flicker of resilience ignite within me, a growing determination to heal, to move forward, to reclaim my life from the wreckage of his betrayal. During this period of healing, the idea of fabricating my death took root. It was a way to reclaim power, to force him to confront the consequences of his actions. It wasn't about revenge, but closure. Then, yesterday, he contacted me with a lengthy apology. I responded as my fictional sister, informing him of my passing. He was shocked and asked for details, which I provided vaguely. He readily gave me his address to mail the items I'd mentioned. The next day, I meticulously prepared the package. Inside, I placed a worn photograph of us, a ticket stub from a concert we attended, and a small silly trinket he once gave me. These ordinary objects, now imbued with false significance, became relics of a life that never truly ended. As I sealed the box, I felt a strange detachment, as if I was packing away a part of myself that no longer existed. I drove to the post office, the package a heavy weight on the passenger seat too. Dropping it into the mailbox felt strangely final, a definitive closing of a chapter. Days turned into weeks. I imagined him receiving the package, the confusion and grief washing over him as he opened it. I pictured him holding the photograph, tracing the outline of my face with his fingertips, a pang of guilt striking him as he remembered the times we shared. I wondered if he would reread the apology he had sent, his words now tinged with the weight of my supposed death. The thought brought me a strange sense of peace, a quiet satisfaction that he was finally forced to confront the consequences of his actions. But, as time passed, the initial satisfaction began to fade, replaced by a complex mix of emotions. I found myself thinking about him less and less, my thoughts no longer consumed by anger and resentment. The fabrication of my death, initially a desperate act of self-preservation, had inadvertently become a catalyst for my own healing. By creating a fictional ending to our story, I had inadvertently created space for a new beginning for myself. However, a nagging unease also settled within me. The weight of the secret, the knowledge that I had constructed this elaborate lie, began to feel heavy. There were moments of doubt, moments when I questioned the morality of my actions. What if he truly grieved for me? What if this experience caused him lasting pain? These thoughts haunted me in the quiet moments, late at night when the world was still and silent. Years passed. I moved on with my life, pursuing my passions, building new relationships, and creating new memories. The memory of him, and the elaborate deception I had enacted, became a distant echo, a faded photograph in the album of my past. But every now and then, a random trigger, a song on the radio, a familiar scent, a fleeting memory, would bring it all rushing back, the weight of the secret momentarily resurfacing. I never told anyone about what I did. It remained my secret, a burden I carried alone. It became a part of my story, a complex and complicated chapter that shaped me in ways I could never have imagined. It taught me about the depths of human pain, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring power of stories, both true and false. It showed me that even from the ashes of betrayal, it is possible to rise, to heal, and to create a new life, even if that new beginning is built on a foundation of carefully constructed fiction. The lie, in a strange way, became my truth, a necessary fiction that allowed me to finally move on. It was a drastic measure, born out of desperation and pain, but it was my way of reclaiming my narrative, of finally finding peace.